Hey guys, Lindsay here.
And Marissa.
So this past weekend we went to NerdCon Stories. It was a really good time. Did you have a good time? Are you glad you went?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lindsay bought tickets before, anything existed about NerdCon Stories, other than, Hank being like, this is a conference about stories.
In Minneapolis.
Right.
So I was like, well, we live here, why not?
Right.
So I'm glad I did.
So, yeah. Usually, you're able to, fill out an evaluation or something, or be like, I want this to change, or I think this was great. And we didn't get to do that, and so we're going to take this video to do that. I mean, I feel like I need to preface that we didn't go to the conference to, meet anyone. We also need to preface that we have not been to large cons before.
Yeah.
We haven't been to, Comic-Con or Dragon Con or anything like that. And so this was our first con that was really above, 1,000 people. And so our experience and likes and dislikes may be different.
Well, fan convention, because I've been to tech conventions that were bigger.
Oh.
I think you've been to professional conferences that are larger, but
yeah,
it's a different feel when you have
you're right.
Celebrities.
Yeah. These are the things we really liked. We liked that it was in Minneapolis.
Although, a negative of that is that we didn't do any of the night sessions because we have dogs.
But we saw some videos of them, and they seemed really funny and good.
I wish we could have done that. That would have been cool.
I thought the convention center and their staff was really good. Mm-hmm. I liked the morning and afternoon sessions. I liked that they clumped, everyone together for a morning session that was really got you sort of rejuvenated. They told why stories matter. They had some music and some fun things, and so those were good.
I think the layout that they chose to do, having the sessions in one area and then the vendor room, the signings were downstairs, so it wasn't all clumped in one area. Mm-hmm. It was good. Let's head on to our constructive criticism.
Okay, here's some constructive criticism. Now, I am of the school that you can't learn and make anything better if you don't have constructive criticism. And since this was the first NerdCon, we'd really like the second one to be better and more wonderful. And so part of that would be gender-neutral bathrooms. I'm not sure if that's a Minneapolis Convention Center thing or if NerdCon attempted to make that happen, but that should be an important part of the next NerdCon.
So another thing that we were talking about was how people who are not able-bodied had to stand in line sometimes, especially on Saturday. I saw this.
When you run a convention, you need to make sure that things are accessible and easily accessible for those non-able-bodied people. On Saturday, when there were long lines, and we have an experience of this, we were standing in line. We happened to be in the front because we had to skip the session before to get in line for the next session. We were in a pretty good spot. Things released from the last session that was going on. Someone who clearly couldn't walk very well, she needed assistance walking, came up and asked us if she could join our group or just pretend to be part of our group so that she didn't have to wait in line because she wasn't going to be able to wait in line long enough to get into the thing. And sure, and we were like, yeah, and struck up a conversation. She ended up getting a seat and it was great. But there should have been a system so that non-able-bodied people were able to know, if I want to get into a session, I either go up to the volunteer or I wait along the side and they'll make accommodations for me. But they didn't seem to know that based on our experience, and therefore that seems like something that needs to change in the future.
I think that it would have been nice to have a area, especially in the breakout sessions, for people specifically
denoted,
right? If you are able-bodied,
people
do not sit here.
So I think the other thing is the conference center itself in Minneapolis is made up of lots of different rooms. We were just in the auditorium style rooms, which makes it even more difficult because it's not accessible,
except in the very, very front.
Even people that are not necessarily disabled but can't climb stairs, right? Or just I have a hard time climbing stairs.
Right. Even for us, it was straight up.
I know.
Almost. It felt very you were climbing into the nosebleed section at a baseball game.
It was. That was really intense stadium style seating. The other thing I wanted to address was lines. Now, I'm an anti-line person. I don't like to stand in line, so I want to preface that. I also have not been to big cons, which I know people stand in line for, right? You pick the sessions you want to go to and you stand in line. That's not, as a consumer, paying to go to a location and paying to learn things from people that have more knowledge than me. I don't want to stand in line. But there were a lot of people who were not able to get into these sessions, which I feel was quite a shame because it was a smaller con.
Well, you could have went back into the main.
You could always go into
one.
the main one, that's true.
But then at the same time, for the following session, then you need to be in line for that session.
If I'm paying to seek out knowledge from people that know more than me, and I am actually one of the few who are able to pay to get into these things, I don't feel like you should have to skip sessions just to stand in line to get to another session. And I think a lot of this has to do with fandom and celebrity. And I appreciate that NerdCon, like I heard people say like, oh, you know, it was so great because the authors got to walk around and they weren't mobbed or, you know, whatever, and they could sort of be with the people. And so I think that we need to, as a culture, just sort of think about that as a con culture, that like we can give these people the ability to go to cons and interact with people and not be mobbed and have like a healthy living. Oh, another thing we liked is the vendor room had local bookstores and stuff.
Yes, I forgot about that. That was really cool, like the local indie bookstores. Versus having Barnes & Noble come in.
Yeah.
I especially felt that, like, the convention seemed pretty grassrootsy versus other conventions that I've been to that are very corporate. I think it was really awesome that they had compostable things, but that was the convention center. That wasn't NerdCon.
Because we rule. If you went to a city that didn't, I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should go to a city that doesn't compost.
Or if you do, I hope that you would take steps to try and compost and like divert things away from the landfill that can be composted.
I really enjoyed NerdCon. I'm glad we went, and I hope that they can continue to make it better and continue to think about things that would make it better.
And we'll see you guys later.
Bye. Sleepy puppies.
We got a sleepy Kaylin and we got a sleepy Hudson.